Okay, hello. Here it is Sunday, and we're going to be doing mediumship. I'm going to be giving you some information on mediumship. So let's start with a prayer. Um, Father, be with us during this teaching, and let me flow with all of the information that everybody needs to know about mediumship and communicating with deceased loved ones who have crossed over to the other side. And we thank you, and I invite my angels and my guides and anyone else who would like to be here during this. And thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, so here we are, mediumship. So this is part of what I do that I love so much. I love getting you in touch with your loved ones who have crossed over to the other side. Um, this, our loved ones communicate with us in so many different ways from the spiritual world or their realm that they're in, their dimension, because they're just no longer in physical. They're in their spiritual body, their eternal body. So I wanted to go over a few things with you, how they communicate. Um, I seem to find dimes a lot. When I know that there are spiritual, people around me, I find dimes. They also come to you in dreams, and that's called a visitation. Like after someone passes away, and then shortly after, you'll have a profound dream that you totally remember them in and them talking to you in them. So if you can catch that, when that does happen, there's a lot of information usually that they're giving you in that dream when they're visiting you in a visitation. Seeing them. So sometimes we might see that, shadow out of the corner of our eye. Like say you're in their house, the person that passed away, you're in their house and you're seeing them doing things that they've always done, like going to the kitchen or, passing by the bathroom or being in their bed even. And sometimes you can see apparitions of them in the physical, like the way they looked when they were still here on the earth plane. So yeah, that's pretty amazing sometimes when you see that. But sometimes it might not be that good, because sometimes it might be that they are still here and they haven't crossed over to the light, and they might be afraid to go to the light, or or they have unfinished business here that they might be sticking around for. But we encourage the passed away loved ones that are still trying to hang around us and not go to the light. We encourage them to go to the light, to God, back to their original form, because being here on the earth plane, they're not supposed to be here. So mostly when I get someone like that who's not crossed over, I work with their guides and trying to get them to the light, or to get them to the light, because that's where they need to be. And then they can come back and speak to us after that's done. But they must go to the light. They cannot stay here, because sometimes they will get stuck. And then that's when they're ghosts at that point, and then they're going to run around trying to find energy to keep on the earth plane, to stay here. And that's how we get attachments to our auras when we become weak. Our aura becomes weak when we're sick or we're sad, or we've lost that loved one, and they're trying to stay. They usually will get attached to you because you love them and your light is guiding them and your energy is feeding them. So that's one thing. Their favorite songs. So they might come to you in a song, like they might give you that song. So that might remind you of them and bring them in. So that's cool too. Also, Perfume. their smells. You might smell roses, or their favorite fruit or vegetable, or what they're cooking in the kitchen. You might smell pie if they were a really good pie cooker. So they do send us smells from the spiritual realm. Also, they might guide you to places that they've liked to go, and you're going to be like feeling nostalgia inside of you and going, ooh, I remember my mom, she loved this place, or, she really loved ducks, and here I am at this duck place, and I'm thinking about my mom, or, the ocean. So they actually do that too. I already went over dimes. I have a little list here, so I didn't want to, get sidetracked. So something they loved also, or something they're connected to. They might send you, like, say they loved rabbits. And so all of a sudden you're seeing rabbits everywhere. So that's your loved one just showing up, telling you, hey, I'm here. Look, I'm giving you rabbits. So, sometimes we don't put two and two together. Like, we're just like, oh yeah, that's a rabbit. But we don't realize that our loved one on the other side is sending us that. So, yeah, and sometimes you can actually ask. You can, it's about asking also. You can ask your loved one, hey, like my dad. Here's my dad. There's my dad, and I'll get to the pictures in just a second. But I could ask my dad, hey, Dad, can you send me some dimes? So I know that you're around me, or can you show up and let me see roses, or something off the wall like a $2 bill. I asked for a $2 bill the other day, to let my divine ones know that they're around me, and boy, did I couldn't. I was blown away. It was like, hey, hey, I have $2 bills, and I was like, whoa, okay, I believe you now. I know you're present. Okay, so that's another. Also a touch. Sometimes if your mother passed away and she used to touch your hair a lot, you might feel that. You might feel a touch or a soft tap on the shoulder. So they also can manifest where you will feel them. You'll actually feel them. Also, lights, like your lights might flicker, the television might go on out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, okay, thanks for that, Dad, or whatever. So yeah, and sometimes we might see little, and they're called angel lights. We call them angel lights in my profession. So you might be seeing little twinkles of light, and you're like, whoa, where's that little twinkle over there? Why is that little twinkle in the picture? Well, that's them showing up, just letting you know they're around. Also, you can hear them um, if you have white noise. I don't know if you know what white noise is, but it's kind of a sound like on your television. And sometimes they will come through, and they actually have boxes. And I don't know the technical name for them, but they're boxes that the white noise will come through. And you can ask your deceased loved one who's on the other side, you can ask them if they could use the box to communicate with you. And a lot of times they will. And sometimes other beings or will come through the box too. I don't use them because I just use all of my six senses. So that, and my clairs for that. Okay, and pictures. I was going to talk about this is psychometry. So if you have a picture of a deceased loved one and you want to get closer to them, and maybe you want to get a message from them, you would get the picture, put your hand over it, put it close to your heart, and close your eyes, and then just let that energy and that love from your deceased loved one flow through to you. And anything that comes into your mind, a picture, some words, sentences, phrases, that's them communicating with you. So this is another way that mediumship works, is through pictures. And also, if they're looking for a missing person, they'll use a picture or something that they loved. That was they wore all the time. You would hold that and you would be able to find that person who's missing or, get clues to where they might be. Okay. All right. So that's psychometry. That's using. Okay. Also, when we know they're around us, you might feel a physical presence. And, every so often I do kind of, I lose my mind a little bit and I was like, ooh, I don't like that. I kind of get fearful a little bit, but because it's something new and you don't realize it, but there they are and you can physically feel them right next to you or behind you or in front of you or whatever. I'm like, you feel them there. And it can be a little scary at first, but then you just kind of get used to it and you're like, oh, okay, you're showing up again. I get you. And you will feel that love. And if it doesn't feel like love, then that's when you say, hey, I don't like the way you're making me feel. You need to leave. Because we have free will, and if something is coming into our, physical awareness where we're feeling them, you don't have to. You can say, I don't want you around me, go away, because I don't like the way you're making me feel, and they have to leave. And you can ask your guides and angels to remove them if you are not feeling it. Okay, so how do you know that you are connected? When you are meditating and you get down to that space where you're communicating with a passed away loved one during mediumship, they'll give you confirmation. Sometimes they'll give you symbols. They'll show you places. They'll show you things or activities that they like. Like, I was reading for a girl once, and her husband passed away, and he was showing me a bicycle. And he also was like going like this and, kind of showing his muscles. And I was giving it to her, and she's like, yeah, I used to do that all the time. And yeah, we just bought bikes right before he passed away. And, so that was my confirmation to her that I was connecting with her loved one. So that's the way they come through to me. Like, they give me symbols of, who they were. Okay, also, they'll give you a description of themselves, like what they used to wear. I was reading once for a lady, and her grandmother came through in like a muumuu, one of those big muumuus. So I gave that to her, and she goes, yeah, my grandma used to wear a muumuu all the time. So that was just confirmation that was her grandmother. I was connecting to her, and then she had some other things for, a client I was reading for. So that was awesome. Also, we're going to get into discernment now. Discerning from a spiritual being who has crossed to the light and one that has not. Mostly the ones who have been crossed over to the light, they will come to you, and, if you're a real visual person, you will see them younger than they were here. They might pop in and show you what they looked like when they were here, but mostly the spiritual beings on the other side look very young. I would have to say in their early 30s, maybe 35, somewhere around there. So that's the way they look in the spiritual realm. So and discerning also means you got to know if that person is stuck here. And usually they will show you their death, and they will continue to repeat the death, or they will have unfinished business. Like, I was reading for another lady, a friend of mine, a client, and her mother came through, and she was very mad. She was stomping around. She didn't want me to sit down in her chair. She wanted the kids to pay attention, her daughters to pay attention to her, and she was just really, so at that point, her being upset and mad and angry and stuff, like, because in the spiritual world, once we cross over to that side, we're not angry. We are not upset. We're all about love and light and compassion, and this lady just wasn't. So I knew at that point, I said, okay, I'm cutting you off. I'm not speaking to you anymore. You need to leave the room, because I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And at that point, I ended up calling our friend Margaret McCormick, and she said, yeah, you are right. She did not cross over to the light, but the guides of compassionate healing did cross her over. So I do know a wonderful lady who does this, and you can do it too. And I could have done it, but I know that Margaret's just so good at it. But that's and also you can tell because they will be repeating. If it was a violent death, they'll repeat that over and over. So that's another way of knowing that that spiritual being has not crossed to the light. And that's ultimately what we want to do as as a medium. We want to make sure that our spiritual people on the other side that we love so much too are crossing over to the divine source, because divine source is love, and that's where they need to be, and they don't need to still be here on the earth plane because they're no longer in the physical. So we want to make sure they're going to the light. And I don't really talk about the darkness because we don't want to give that kind of stuff any energy. We don't want to do that. So I rarely do that. But if I go to a place, and I went to a place where it just felt horrible, like it made me sick to my stomach. I turned around and ran, like literally ran down the stairs and jumped in my car and said, I'm not going on that porch ever again. So we do know they do exist, the darkness and the lower life forms, and they basically have not evolved. Like they are just running around causing havoc, and they haven't evolved into love and light and compassion. So those things, we use sage, we grid our houses. I think I have a gridding kit right here. And I do a triangle in my home. Here's all the stones that I use. Citrine and rose quartz to bring in love, citrine for negativity. I put the red jasper and tiger's eye. And this brings up all these beautiful high energy things into your home. So I do that with Reiki, but you have to know Reiki in order to do that. Okay, so clearing your space. If you are at a house and you can feel like me, this house, this lady who lived here and this man who lived here, they were very violent with each other and they fought a lot. And the man used to beat his wife up. So a lot of the residual that was in my home, I was feeling, and I also was able to hear their arguing and fighting in my home because it was imprinted on my area. So what you do is you go through your house and you tell whatever that is that's feeding off of that kind of energy around in your house, this is my space, I'm claiming it, and you have to leave in the name of Jesus. The Christ energy is very strong, and Jesus can do anything. And that's who I call on, the Holy Spirit, God, and Jesus, to clear my area, because this is mine now, and I don't like that, and I no longer want that around me. I also smudge my house monthly, if not every other week. I do that. I also use selenite in my home, so that keeps it peaceful and calm in here as well. And like I said, just claim your space. Just walk around in every single room and claim that space. And if you want to smudge with sage or Palo Santo, holy wood, you could do that. I do signs of the cross over all the windows and all the doors. And I shoo out, all that negative energy that is no longer serving me and my family for our best and highest good. So I just shoo it all out. Okay, so also I wanted to talk about helping the spiritual people who are stuck here. If you can actually visualize a beautiful white light in a big circle, and you just see this white light spinning and spinning, and you can ask their guides to help you to guide them to the light. And for the most part, they will go, because that is what their spiritual team is for, and they're, to guide them to the light so they can cross over and be better and not be here still, because they're not us. They're not in the physical. So, all right. Well, that is mediumship. There's so much more. If you need any information, you can always go on YouTube. There's a billion videos. Also, we're going to be getting into your psychic abilities, because we're all born with psychic abilities. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to say, every medium is a psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. And that's how we figured that out, anyways, in the spiritual world that I'm in my profession. So, okay, well, I will see you later. I wanted to go over some stones with you, but it looks like this video went quite long. So, I will go over some of the more of the crystals and stuff with you that will help you on mediumship in another video, probably next Wednesday, because I try to do a middle of the week video to keep you all caught up. All right, well, I love you so much. Blessings of love and light. I hope this was informative for you. And yeah, peace. Bye.